Hi guys, once again. To begin with, the entire mandate of this, or my entire intent to have everybody on board for today's discussion was to just interact and talk about what potentially are a few very pertinent points when you talk purely from a business consulting perspective for Khurana and Khurana or for the IPR industry per se. Uh, I myself have had almost 5 years of IPR consulting experience with Khurana and Khurana. Most of my experience stint has been with Khurana and Khurana and IIPRD. I came into the IPR industry around in 2013, and it was a completely new avenue and a new industry for me from a business consulting or a marketing or a sales perspective, if you'd like to understand it from that perspective. And over the past 4 years, there are certain things that have worked in my favor. There are certain things that I've experienced from a non-legal academic background per se. I've been able to inculcate a few practices and a few points and a few aspects that have really helped me, and that actually helps in more or less in any consulting field that you might be in. But today's focus is on IPR industry. So just to start off with, uh, I if we talk about IPR consulting, so here I would like to keep the whole gamut of people who are listening to this not restricted to purely business development teams, but anybody who's an IP professional who wants to understand what is the best way moving forward in terms of generating new clients, or tapping new leads, or to how do you harness and expedite your business revenue potential from a firm's perspective or from your individual practice perspective as well. So this is open for everybody, right from practitioners to attorneys to prosecution attorneys to patent drafting professionals, licensing professionals, litigation attorneys, and so on and so forth. Anybody who is engaged with the client gamut per se would be able to have some queries and understand what I'm trying to convey here. So let's start with my major focus is to harp on a few pertinent aspects, as you might be able to see on your screens. The first thing that I'd like to emphasize is uh, in IPR industry, what is our role, and especially the business consulting and business development teams. What we need to understand is, if you are getting into the IPR domain, you so when I say your role as one of your major roles is to comprehend the IPR domain in totality. What I mean by that is, if I'm talking about IPR, is it only patents? No. Is it only copyrights? No. Is it just trademarks? No. It's a comprehensive set of services which includes patents, trademarks, copyrights, designs, GI, and the entire corresponding set of services, be it prosecution, be it litigation, be it licensing. There are umpteen number of service mandates that we have. There could be portfolio audits, there could be litigation related support services. We draft claim charts, FTOs, we draft patents, we do amendments, we do a lot of licensing exercises. We so if you pick up trademarks, there are umpteen number of areas that you can explore. So right at the onset, you have to have a holistic perspective of trying to understand that IP has an end-to-end a gamut, or an end-to-end scope, which includes patents, trademarks, and all the services on all sorts of prosecution, litigation, licensing, commercialization mandates. So you will first of all have to understand that you need to be in the know-how of the basics of all these domains. That gets to the next point, your graded understanding of IPR. So as I mentioned, patents, trademarks, copyrights, designs, GI. If I am into the IPR industry, and if my role uh, is to engage with your existing clients, so this point might even go for the patent professionals or other trademark prosecution and litigation professionals or copyright professionals. How to tap into new leads, your understanding of the subject matter has to be completely clear. Now, how do you do that? Do you need to mug up everything? No. Do you need to know what are the basics of all aspects of, say for instance, the patent law, the Indian Patent Act? Are we as a business professional, of course the consulting professionals would be in the know-how of the Patent Act per se, but from a business consulting professional, are we expected to mug up the whole Patent Act? No. Are we expected to not know about it at all? No, either. What is important is you need to have a basic know-how of, for instance, Indian Patents Act 1970 has at least 150 sections enumerated in it. Are we to know everything? No. But are we to know the basics of a few important sections that come into regular parlance of communication in your daily business calls, in your daily business consulting calls? For example, maybe section 13 is relevant. Section 64 is very important. Section 84 from a compulsory licensing point of view is very important. So you can at least bifurcate the major sets of uh, uh, the the, the sections that might be of interest. Along with it, are we in the best know-how of the patent prosecution procedure as per the Indian IP laws? Do we know the PCT procedure? Do we know what are the basic litigation trials that are going on in Indian IP office? Do we know, how do we understand all these facets? See, there is one way of this is something that has worked for me, and I'd like to share this experience. If we, as a business consultant, if proper a script that we have and we talk about it, and we try and engage with clients and expect multiple conversions happening over a consistent period of time, that is not going to happen. And why? Because if you are constraining yourself into uh, a fixed complete sales pitch profile or a sales pitch script, that is going to confine you into a limited knowledge for yourself, and that reflects in your conversations when you're talking to your new potential leads, be it in India or internationally. So the best way to equip yourself is to have a basic understanding of the Indian Patents Act, of the Indian Trademark Act 1999, of the Indian Copyright Act 1952, or the Designs Act. And along with it, uh, try and understand the international consequences as well. So when I say international consequences, what do I allude to? What I'm trying to talk about is, what are the basics that are going on in the USPTO? What is the basic that's going on with the Madrid Union? What is the basic that's going on with the international designs under the Locarno classification, for instance? Or what does the Berne Convention say about the Copyrights Act? So as we move forward, I'll be enumerating a little more in detail about how do you collate information about all these things. But you have to broaden your horizon in trying to tap clients. See, if you yourself are equipped well with the basics, and by basics I'm not just harping on the patent procedures or the patent prosecution procedures, or the set of services that Khurana and IIPRD have. Knowing all of that is not enough. You will have to go that extra mile to understand and take initiative to engage to understand that this is for your own value addition. Once you have that perspective in your head, you'll automatically start collating information to yourself, analyzing it, understanding it better, hence making you a more potent force when you're engaging with newer leads or engaging with international clients or Indian clients or even if you have to talk with your referrals or your current clients who might be facing some issue, the more you are informed yourself, the less reliant you are on the technical team or or the practicing team or the senior members who take on the calls themselves. So what I'm trying to say is patents, trademarks, copyrights, designs, and GI have to be understood holistically once you are a business consultant professional in IPR, right? So could we move to the next slide, Arindam, please? Thank you. So next, how do you really categorize your, now this is purely from a business revenue generation perspective. How do you really generate leads? What is the process and what is your set of tools and processes that you are using? I'll talk about what I have done successfully and I continue to do so. Uh, One major tool, I'm sure this is a ubiquitous, it's a universal known fact. LinkedIn is one of the primary tools, apart from all the databases, from WIPO, from Indian IP Journal, from the cause lists, and from all the other sources that we get. Apart from that, the best and instant and the most expedited way of generating maximum leads per day is your LinkedIn. So a very robust and very well drafted LinkedIn profile is mandatory. It is completely an exquisite LinkedIn profile is imperative. That is one. And secondly, I'm sure all the business professionals and consulting members of Khurana and Khurana who are tuned in right now would definitely be having bifurcated uh, your Excel sheets where you maintain your databases. So to have a categorized industry-based uh, lead sheet or client sheet or potential sheet is very helpful as well. So you could categorize it as per your convenience. Uh, for example, automation, mechanical, electrical, electronics, automotive. There are different categories, and you could have a Excel sheet which categorizes jurisdiction-wise potential leads or clients. So on one hand, you have your categorization of the industry, and on the other, you have your jurisdiction-wise, you have your potential leads and names, followed up with columns for their updated status, and you could go through a graded phase of following up with them. So that gets me to the next point of having a very strong follow-up regime. What do I mean by that? Follow-up regime uh, would really aim towards understanding what status your every lead is in. If it is an absolute cold lead that has refused you to not even speak with you, you strike that off lead out of your list for a year, if not more. You strike it out, but never say never. Maybe you can always tap with them and speak with them probably a year down the line. Maybe their strategies have changed. Maybe they are in a position where they are looking out for a change in their vendor. Maybe they have grown on into their service portfolios. There is some potential requirement that might come up which is not being fulfilled by their current vendors or they're not happy with. That could be with IP or non-IP mandates. Practices of our law apart from IPR that Khurana and Khurana serves into. So that is a very pertinent point when it comes to a very constant and a very calibrated follow-up practice that you might have. You can have your notations of what is the current status of your current client or your current lead, and if it's a hot lead, when I say hot lead, if somebody has expressed the willingness to speak with you, you categorize it as a hot lead. Or there is even if there is one particular mandate that he is interested in that seems to be a hot lead, if there are multiple mandates that he wants to talk about, or you've had a first initial level of conversation with them, that is a hot lead. So you follow up with them faster than the rest of the other. So you can always categorize your leads based on the urgency of requirement that they might have. And there are a lot of clients or potential leads. I'm sure the business consulting teams would have experienced this and experience it pretty regularly, There are a lot of them who would always ask you to keep in touch or they'll get back to you later. Do not call them off of your lists. Always keep a deadline of maybe 6 months, 8 months to 1 year down the line, to touch base with them, appraise them of how your service portfolio has grown, how has our clientele grown, and touch base with them maybe 6 months or 8 months or 10 months down the line. That's one another important aspect of following up. Uh, Time management is another important aspect. If I talk about time management, I'm talking about if you're catering to multiple jurisdictions. For instance, I take care of. I'm taking a holistic approach to all international jurisdictions. I take care of Indian clients, South Asian jurisdictions. If I have to bifurcate my entire day, 8 to 9 hours of working hours a day, is it possible for me to cover all the jurisdictions in a day? Yes, it is. How? You will have to calibrate as per the time zones. What is the best time bifurcation for you to spend a minimum time each day to each jurisdiction? Or you could cater to a few jurisdictions each day in the working week. So you could either have the whole day divided into different time zones and you calibratedly touch base all your leads, excuse me, across all the zones in single day, or you could equally concentrate on few jurisdictions per working day. So whatever suits you the best. I personally ensure that I touch base all jurisdictions every day. How do I do that? Morning 11 to 12:30 around, I take care of the Southeast Asian region, including Australia, New Zealand, and the Southeast Asian jurisdictions, and then China, Japan, Korea, Taiwan. Then the next central jurisdictions falls for me as the Indian clients. So until the lunchtime, maybe around 12:45 to 1:30ish or 1:45 is when I touch base all my Indian leads and clients and potentials. Post the lunch break, I switch to the Middle Eastern region, wherein I tap Israel and other Middle Eastern regions where there are potential clients, and then switch to Europe, Germany, France, because the time zone correspondingly suits post 3 p.m. India time. And after the evening, uh, the remainder 2 hours goes for the US practice. So that's how I it depends on what works best for you. So you could bifurcate your time, but ensure that you are tapping potential leads everywhere. I mean, unless and until you've been instructed for a specific jurisdiction. But if possible, I'm sure that is not a hindrance. If you get any potential strong lead from any jurisdiction across the world, Quran and IIPRD are more than happy to tap it. That is not a problem at all. So I leave it to your best discretion, but this was my suggestion on the time management front. And the next and another very important point from sales and revenue perspective is to understand every industry, every potential, every client, existing or upcoming, has and will always have an opportunity for you to cross sell and upsell. So when I say cross sell and upsell, how does that work out? Any existing client or a potential, when you are tapping him for the first time, you understand, you'd obviously would have done your homework about the industry and the company per se, its products, its service portfolio, its product portfolio, and potential areas where you might be able to assist them. Once you do that, if there is an opportunity, maybe IP is not the first initial breakthrough that you get through in that client. Maybe it's a corporate or a commercial contract or a commercial or corporate mandate that might come through. It might be a contractual a contract vetting, or probably a civil litigation or an LCLT matter, or a debt recovery matter that immediately has their requirement. That is immediately where you tap that client. Once you have a client, probably in the next few years or in the next few months and quarters, you always have that opportunity to cross sell and upsell and keep in touch with and understand the moment there is an opportunity where you see, you can always pitch in your services. How has IIPRD or KNK worked in IP mandates, and that's how you cross sell or upsell. In upselling, of course, I'm sure you're aware, if you've done a few patent drafting applications, if you filed a few patents, then you go for other IP search support or international filings or licensing support or even other trademark support. So that's how you cross sell and upsell. That these things always holistically have to be a part of your thinking process when you're talking and discussing with your existing and upcoming clients. Yeah, Arindam, next slide, please. Thanks a lot. So this comes across one of the most important points I wanted to share with everybody here is inevitable reading. Why do I call that? Is uh, especially again for the business consulting and business development teams, guys, this goes a long way in equipping yourself to be self-reliant in terms of being a very successful business consultant or a business development professional. Why do I say that? If you have your own understanding of, for example, if you're dealing with patents, let's say, or you're dealing with trademarks primarily, let's say, how do you equip yourself? As I mentioned in the beginning, that we need to have a holistic framework of understanding the IP laws and the IP framework. I would go a little deeper into the matter and guide you through what are the best practices that have again worked for me. Understanding, I'm sure we have all tight deadlines. Each day we have to meet our deadlines of minimum number of leads, derive maximum clients out of it. How do we do that? Again, is it only reliant on our standard pitches and our standard scripts that we are supposed to go through? Is that it? Is it the best way to have potential clients engaged with us? No. There's always more that we can do. How do we do that? Simple way is to inculcate a very basic and banal habit of reading more. You don't have to go through journals. You don't have to pick up specific IP magazines, or you don't have to subscribe to IP websites and read them through specifically, or something as basic as going through the LinkedIn articles. So if you're engaged on LinkedIn articles, you have multiple posts. We every day on an average, probably we don't even realize, we end up scanning through at least 50 to 80 posts a day. And there are extremely pertinent articles on prosecution, litigation, very, very pragmatic judgments that are coming in the Indian IP office, in high court judgments, in EU IPO judgments, in US PTO judgments that are being shared by the network worldwide every day. Can we sneak out time and probably pick up an article or two and spend 15 to 20 minutes or 10 minutes an article and scan through it? Well, yes, we can. Does that help? Yes, it does. How? If you're picking up one article, you start reading it, maybe at the first instance it'll not strike completely, but that should get you intrigued. For example, there's a trademark uh, litigation article that you read. There are a lot of international trademark litigations going on. Even in the Delhi High Court, there are a lot of trademark litigations that are going on. So any article that you pick up and you start reading, what are those specific areas? If you could just scribble down and note it, and probably by the end of the week, for example, uh, just a very fresh example of how I proceed with it. There's Khurana and Khurana has successfully defended uh, uh, Sujata trademark, a Punjab-based firm, and we've successfully gotten an interim injunction from the plaintiff. So that article has been posted. how does that from a business development professional help me or help the other members of the business consulting team? If I read that, if I understand what are the nuances of the cases, what is the rationale behind the Delhi High Court having granted that interim injunction, immediately instates in my head that there are certain principles that have been followed. So if that is embossed in my head, I know that is one important aspect of trademark litigation and prosecution that equips me immediately with a set of knowledge for trademark and trademark prosecution in India or trademark litigation in India. Does that add value to my trademark information? And can that help while I am engaging with my prospective trademark clients? Yes, it will. When you talk about that, what is your trademark practice? How has Khurana and Khurana been able to engage into a variety of trademark successfully litigated and prosecuted for trademarks subjects? Immediately you can trace an example, and you can harp on a very pertinent judgment that has recently come out, wherein Khurana and Khurana has successfully been able to derive a interim injunction. That in itself, so this is just a small example to show what is the importance of 5 minute to 10 minute reads per day, or maybe 30 minutes in the whole day. If you're working for 9 hours, you can spend 30 minutes for your readings You can sneak out time and have a quick read, grasp whatever you can, and make a note of what is not available. And always, we can always, as a team, discuss within ourselves, within the teams. We can always engage, read more, take support from people around. That's the way, one way to enhance your understanding of trademark processes, patent. For similar the same format goes for copyrights, for patents, for designs. Uh, so along with articles, you have the WIPO website, you have the Indian IP journals, you have the Indian IP website, you have the entire. If you go to the WIPO website and try and scout and read for various other IP services, what are the nuances of the Berne Convention? What is the updates on the Madrid Union or the Madrid Protocol? What are the newer areas that there are PCT updates that are floated every day, for that matter. If you believe USPTO is an important jurisdiction for you, you can always go and check out the current update. You will get to know a couple of more important points on what are the newer amendments or the new laws in USPTO that have come up. Does that add value to your business consulting mandate? Yes, it does. So what I will not go into too much detail of what all you should do. I'm just giving you a heads up of what are the small intricacies that help you add value as a business consultant, right? And so this slide talks about envision each material as an implied primary source of information. So as I mentioned, if you read an article and if there is a section that has been quoted from maybe the UK IPO or from the Indian Trademark Registry or from, say, the Board of Trade, or any particular section or any particular article of the European Commission that might have been quoted, that immediately should register in your mind as a prospective information point based on which you can build your business consulting pitch later on. As in when you are part of business consulting calls, when you are there with the professionals, with your consulting teams, when you are joining on those calls, it adds value to your own understanding of the laws and its prosecution litigation mandates. If I'm you can probably, you might be thinking, maybe a lot of you are already doing that, but in that case, I'm only trying to reinforce that is the best practice to move forward. And I think that helps. That has worked for me, and I follow this very judiciously. And I'm sure if you all give it a try, probably it will reap benefits in the longer run. Yeah. So Arindam, could we get to the last slide? I think. Yeah. And to just to end my entire narration, I would only like to sum up with uh, telling you that guys, as a business consulting team, we are a very, very important function to the whole organization and the entire functioning of the company. So always inculcate this habit and idea of probing all the time. The more you are inquisitive, the more you want to engage more, the more you try to learn more, the more you try and tap on with all the resources that we have. For example, the knowledge base that has grown so expansively in the past 1.5 years. There's so much of material available on the knowledge base. If we can try and read a bit every day over the next maybe 6 months, 3 months, and don't be apprehensive, don't be innovative at all. Just be bold and seek information, seek help, seek assistance, and just be blatant in what you believe. Because as long as your cause is genuine, the more you'd be wanting to develop yourself with more information and knowledge, the better it will be for the whole firm and for yourself. So,
एक या दो लगा दो, बाकी निकाल दो, बहुत बड़ा हो गया ना.
So yeah, that was all from my end, guys. I'll be very happy to answer if there are any questions or any interjections from your end, guys. Thanks a lot.
पर वो बहुत भर गया ना, ये मैंने अच्छा लगता है, पर ये तो उनको लग गया ना, ये मैंने लगाए थे उधर, तो इसमें भी कितना भर गया, एक लगा दो बस, बाकी इधर उधर लगा दो.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Hi, Saurabh. Deepshika this side.
Hi, Deepshika.
Yeah. Thanks for a wonderful session. It was
Thank you.
really nice. One thing I want you to put forward is, what about negotiations with clients? What we should put forward and how much we should negotiate, like how to calculate and analyze that portion.
Sure. Very important question, Deepshika. Good you asked this. And so as far as negotiations go, if you are already at that stage where the proposition of negotiations or pricings have come, so you immediately have to understand one fact, that the conversation has, or there is a strong potential there. So our aim is to not, scare the client away with a pricing that we if we can gauge that the client is expecting a negotiated price, you can always stakeholders who take the final call on the pricings. And if you as an individual have something at your disposal, if you have the authority to give a $100 or a $500 or a $250 waiver, then you can do that. If that has to be a deliberated exercise with all stakeholders, you always ask, what, for example, I do is I always give them a window that this is the standard pricing that we have. For example, $350 is our standard PCT filing charges, attorney fee for our Indian filing from a PCT perspective. But if there are bulk filings coming in and they talk about we're expecting a lower quote, you'll always tell them this is our standard price. But of course, we'll get back to you with our post discussions internally, and we'll assure that we'll give you the best prices from our end so that we can establish a long-term collaborative relationship with you. So that's how you keep that window of negotiations on. I mean, you don't necessarily have to give an answer there and then and a final quote there and then. You can always have an internal discussion and get back to them whatever is the feasible time, within a couple of days or 1 day or however it is suitable for you. So that's the standard and the best way to move forward. That's all. That's the practice that even I do. Even on initial calls, I always tell them that I'll share the price schedules with you for all our end-to-end IP services. But having said that, if there are specific price quotes or price cappings that you want to work on, we are always open to negotiations on that, and we can deliberate on that at a later point. So that's one way of managing that aspect.
Okay, sure. Thanks.
Sure.
Hi, Shourabh. This is Parvez here.
Hi, Parvez.
The name says Aliza. That's my daughter's name. She sometimes
okay.
So subject regarding this negotiation or the pricing, as you
Sure.
said, and just to, to add to that, what I'd like to
Sure.
mention is one thing I've seen in Khurana, and especially this is basically a reflection of Karun sir's thinking, is price is not an issue or a problem. Whatever works for the
Sure.
client, we are willing to definitely look at that, because we want to
Sure.
get the ball rolling initially. Okay,
Absolutely.
we get the initial business, we'll then maybe we can work on further, once that connect is there.
Absolutely.
The approach I follow, as you said, is overall we know what are our standard rates, but we do indicate, we're willing to look at things based on, number of projects that they would be giving.
Sure. Sure. Exactly.
And whenever we do adjust, we would do so specifically at their request, and I make it a point to communicate it to them, okay, this is a one-time thing for this reason as a request you're doing, or this is assuming that you would be giving us so much business. Okay.
Absolutely.
And one very important point you made is you don't need to tell them or give them the discount right there.
Exactly.
Right? You
Exactly.
can always tell them, I'll just check with my management and I'll get back to you, or we'll discuss internal, because
Sure.
usually we don't do this, and we'll get back to you regarding that. And I have seen that generally it's not a problem to give reasonable, discounts based on, you'll have a sense of it if you're in it. Okay.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
very often I know, okay, this is what I can and I will give. I don't need to even check with somebody. But nonetheless, what I tell them is, oh, this would be a little unusual. Let me check and
Exactly.
get back. That's just for effect. Actually, I don't check with anybody. Right?
Sure.
So
Sure.
that's how we
Sure.
get back, and then we get working on it. You
Sure.
have to try and keep open the possibility that if you're giving a very heavy discount as a special case for some reason to somebody, you have to
Sure.
make it clear to them that permanently all projects will not be at this rate. Exception for this reason, since you have mentioned, we may do this. But
Sure.
next time, depending on a scenario or whatever, maybe it may not be the rate. This is as a special case we are doing.
Absolutely.
So
I
as long as we take
completely.
care of, yeah. So as long
Yeah.
as we take care of that, what I've seen, our main concern is to get the business, get people working with us, people giving us work. We may not get
Absolutely.
trademark, or
I
sometimes we may
I
do even for free. Very rare cases. But
I concur with
that's
that.
how we start off.
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, we already work on contingency models for invalidity searches primarily. That is one strong model with us. When we talk about cost-effective services, our contingency plans for contingency services for invalidity searches is quite a hit, so to say, to initiate the conversation and initiate the collaboration. Also, another important factor, as you mentioned, we can work on deliberated costs. It depends also on the magnitude of the corporate or the law firm. What is the structure we are getting into? That depends. I mean, if it's a big leveraging corporate house, for example, if it's a semiconductor company based in Germany and US, which potentially is going to give you at least 4 to 5,000 USD billing per month, we can definitely get down and prune our costs. But if it's an Indian firm, for example, and we know how cost sensitive the Indian corporate and clients are, so at that point, even the big business houses, for example, even in pharma, I've seen the best of and the biggest of firms. They negotiate like crazy for the prices overall. So at that point in time, I mean, we have to have a discussion on what is the maximum discounts business from that particular client. So I think that gives the window for probably an internal discussion as well. So I mean, since you are from the practitionering background, and the rest of the people from the business consulting background, we or at the on the spot we can't really give the discounted pricings at least at the initial stage. We need to have a word with somebody at the from the
Even if you
functional level
can,
or
you
from the
should
top management.
generally, you should always tell them, "No, I'll have to check on this and
Yeah,
discuss and
yeah,
get back."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, perfect. Any more questions? Any thoughts? Any inputs, guys? Anyone?
Yes, Saurav, I would have one small question.
Please, Arundham.
How do you revive a communication? For example, you mentioned that if somebody says, let us touch back later, or let us no, we are not interested or something, so we can schedule our calendar that way. Maybe we'll contact them after
Sure,
6 months, 8 months, 1 year, whatever it may
sure,
be.
sure.
So like, what are the, in a way I'm asking for tips, maybe like what are the best way to.
Very easy and very simple, Arindam. You really have to be see there has to be no hitch in getting back to that prospective lead. First of all, you can always call up and very gently ask, give them a trace back your previous conversation, and tell them always that just wanted to check if the scenario has changed, and if there are potential newer areas, or there's any point there are any newer mandates that might have come up. So just wanted to check and have a gentle follow-up. That's about it. If there is a slightest of opportunity of anything coming up, or if they are unhappy with their existing vendors on some aspect, they will immediately. So it is always good, unless somebody has been absolutely categorically, very irate and asked you, just take me off your call list, or we don't do outsourcing for vendors. Until that point in time, you should always, you can touch base with them and tell them that based on our prior correspondence, maybe last year or a few months ago or a couple of quarters ago, I just wanted to check ups. This is our practice. Our practice has grown over in this industry in the past 6 months. And so in that context, just wanted to understand if there are any areas we could potentially assist you. And if the scenario has changed at your end as well. Nobody takes offense to it in any manner, or nobody gets irate on it. So that's the best way to re-engage.
Okay.
Mhm. And sort of, and how you take forward those cases when someone suggests you to touch base after, let's say, 3 months or 6 months, and you message them or email them after 3 months or 6 months,
Sure.
no reply or nothing from their end. How you take it forward from there?
I mean, see, as long as I would always suggest one, this brings up another important point, guys. Never leave out any scope of communication. Use every mode that is at disposal. So an email is that's a primary mandate. A message is also fine. Especially for your international clients or international potentials, there are few important tricks. I'm sure everybody does use it. If you potentially are not being able to connect over Skype, you try out matching that number on WhatsApp and get in touch with them over a call or message. If that doesn't work out, you can always scout for their Skype IDs over Skype. It's happened with me a lot of times. I've not been able to connect with some US potentials. I've searched their name over Skype and got in touch with them and ended up scheduling a call probably after a year. Exhaust every method available. Of course, don't be too anxious and don't pester. You always have to maintain a very fine line of balance between following up frequently at a very well-defined time frame, and yet not be very extremely persuasive to an extent that you start getting them irked up and make them irate, and just that disturbs their entire possibility of engaging again. So, for example, if after 3 months or 6 months you are engaging with them again, exhaust all modes of communication possible. Yet, if there is no response, you wait for the next another 3 months. That's the only way. And again, I mean, when I'm talking of exhausting all possible, modes, dropping a message, say, again, connecting on LinkedIn is a very, very potent tool for everybody. So you can always try connecting with them. LinkedIn becomes a very strong first point of reference, guys. Another important point. Try and connect with all leads, whether your current, existing, potentials. Connect with them on LinkedIn, and when you speak with them or connect with them on via an email or a message or a call, the LinkedIn connect reference comes in handy. Nobody will outrightly deject or reject your attempted conversation once they know that they have themselves acknowledged your presence over LinkedIn. Yeah. So that's those are a few ways of ensuring that your lead potential continues to be in your list till the time you end up speaking with them.
Right.
And Saurabh, if you and COVID,
Sure.
how do we go about things, given the constraints, and maybe people are not available on the calls, etc., and stuff like
Sure.
that.
I can completely appreciate this question, and very timely asked question, because we all as a whole unit, we have been grappling with this issue. But in light of this issue, the most lucrative and the most uh, uh, potentially easiest way to maximize and optimize your outreach is, as I mentioned during the presentation, is to try and touch base all jurisdictions across all time zones in one day. I think that's the best way to do it. Harping on one particular jurisdiction through the week or even for a whole day might be a little, mundane. It gets a tad boring beyond the point when you constantly are not being able to outreach people, or you're not being able to speak with anybody, or you're not getting responses at all. So the best way forward is to divide your time frame, your working hours, your 8 to 9 of working hours across different time zones and jurisdictions. That's how I take it. And so maybe in the morning hours, I get a couple of responses from Australian law firms, or a couple of, I get in touch with a few Japanese law firms, or maybe a corporate here and there. And maybe the whole day in the middle hours, until post lunch, I don't get a response from the Indian potentials. Then I start scouting Europe again post lunch. And just from my experience, I'd like to share, guys, Germany is one jurisdiction where there's maximum response coming in. And Germans as such, they're pretty they're amiable, they're quite amicable, and they're very soft spoken. The difference while speaking with American litigation attorneys, and the responses you get from them initially, and what you get from the German attorneys. They're very patient. If you ask for a couple of minutes of time, and if they genuinely have 5 minutes, they will exhaust that, and they'll give you that 5 minutes, and you nail it in those 5 minutes. That's one way of looking at it. So Germany in the West, and bifurcating the whole working time into different time zones and jurisdictions is one way of leveraging and optimizing your per day responses.
Thanks, Shourabh.
Sure. Any more queries, guys? If I may just ask, who all are purely from the business development team here? If I may just know.
Me, sir, Karanveer.
Hi, Karan. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Shourabh, me, Parvez, I'm also a business development team, but I
Sure.
also work with clients, on their issues and their follow-ups,
Sure.
and actually specific details of projects work or something getting held up, etc. Because my basic background started off not as I'm not basically a business development person. I'm basically a patent person, being an
I'm aware of
inventor
that.
and
Sure.
patent agent and attorney person.
Sure.
So I spend a good amount of my time also working with the clients on their inventions and clarity on that, and execution of
Sure.
subsequent.
Sure.
But I don't do actual projects in terms of drafting a prosecution or searches, etc.
Okay.
But I do
Okay.
work with your clients, and even a lot with prospects, you know.
Sure.
Even with prospects, I get into what exactly they are doing, you know, how it can actually be taken care of, to give them confidence in our you know, abilities, skills, and
Sure.
approaches that we follow in terms of how we'll do their work if they give us the project, etc. Try to get
Sure.
very often many clients are not clear about what they want to do, what they have, how to best protect it. So I work a lot with people on that aspect.
Sure. Sure. Understood, sir. So I'm sure you'd be able to appreciate the points that I'm trying to harp on is that we always have to take a holistic perspective. And I mean, you come from a technical background, so especially for non-technical teams, I mean, such as myself, I have only recently completed my thesis on patent licensing valuations in wireless communication from London. Apart from that, legal academic qualifications per se is something that I don't come with. So I'm more skewed towards commerce and business consulting and business development genre. So for somebody like me to be successful and to ensure that I give it my 100%, I will have to ensure that put in my 120% in terms of exhausting every available tool at my disposal. So I ensure these things do work. I'm sure if anybody of you, if you're already engaging in these practices, too good. If not, then try doing it. I mean, for instance, just try and scout through the website, IP Act, read a few case judgments, understand the process of reverse engineering kicks in, wherein you read the article, read the judgment, read uh, uh, the particular section that is quoted, and understand where is the rationale coming from. And that helps. That really helps you to build your own entire strong rationale of that particular act or that particular jurisdiction or that particular IP model. So that works best. I mean, and beyond a point, we all know it's an endless ocean. IPs, you nobody can gauge it to the fullest in one lifetime. That is for sure. But to do our best and to gauge as much and grasp as much as we can, so we can leverage from a business development point of view. It is very helpful. So that was my whole mandate and my whole attempt to just share with everybody what works best from a business consulting point of view, and how best can we elaborate and make ourselves more sturdy and more equipped with all the IP information and knowledge.
Hey Shourabh, this is Ankur. How are you?
Hi, good, very good.
Yeah, I've joined your session a little late. So yeah, I'm from the BD team here too. Though I joined a little late, was caught up with something. So yeah, great session, whatever I could catch. And
Sure.
some interesting aspects that I also found pretty helpful. The limited time I was here was the inputs on follow-ups, because that's always
Sure.
tricky.
Sure.
So yep. So yeah, just jumped in because you asked who's from the BD team here. So,
No, thanks. I'm aware of that. And who else? So Akshaya is here. Bhumika is from the business consulting drafting team, and Padam Priya. So and Shikha and Gargi. So everybody's from the practitioners team. Rest of them.
No, Saurabh, I'm also, in fact, here I'm also in BD team. But yes,
Okay.
I involve in invalidation searches, especially if there is any invalidation search from US or European region.
Okay. So inter party
Mostly prepare
and
sample.
multi-party reviews. Okay. Okay.
Otherwise,
Okay.
I mostly prepare sample reports and share them with contact.
Sure. For the IIPRD blogs, if I'm not wrong.
No, not
Do you,
exactly blogs. I majorly I'm working on a strategy wherein, you know, I pick up recent, also you can say live running litigation cases from US, and I prepare
sure.
research report and share them with the attorneys.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
And apart from this, I write blogs, and yes, I prepare some landscape reports and share them with.
Sure. Can appreciate. Perfect. So I think that sums it up. Any last questions, guys? And then I think we can wrap up. And just so everybody knows, guys, I am available for anybody on any support, any query, anything you want to share or have inputs on or want my deliberations on. I'm available I'm just a call away. You can drop me an email or get in touch with me over LinkedIn, however possible. And I'm always there. Happy for a quick chat on any IP issues at all times. So yeah.
Thank you for the session. Have a nice day.
Good to wrap up now.
Right. Shourabh, excellent session. All the points you made very valid, very important, and especially the aspect from the beginning you've highlighted of people being aware of IPR and the various aspects related to that. That's critically important. As you
Sure, sir.
emphasized. Excellent session. Very helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the participation. I'm really glad everybody's at least paid heed and made the attempt to take out time and be present here just to hear me out. And I'm also in a learning phase. I'm as my stint with K&K grows. I'm constantly learning, and so I know
everybody. As you said, IPR is a vast ocean. A person can't learn in one lifetime. Very frankly, I know a little bit about patents and stuff, but even I see, there is so much I don't know. I still need to learn, right?
Sure, sir.
And very often you don't get time to even, catch up on the views of all of it.
Absolutely.
Maybe a little bit of it, but we may not get the time. So it's a never ending, and it's not like the knowledge and understanding of IPR is static. It evolves every day. People are working on new things every day. The law, the requirements, concerns, considerations, everything is getting updated.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
I mean, the area itself is evolving and the subject is so vast. You always have to be in a learning mode.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, sir. I mean, just to, when you were talking about this, the first thing popped up in my head is the Section 3K conundrum going on in the Indian IP office. And today we have, you don't know, patents are being copyrightable in Indian jurisdiction as well. This entire furor that's going on with the PTAB litigations in US, if shift in the US patent litigation regime altogether. So even the slightest of information can really update you and get you more intrigued, and that just keeps you at pace with what all is going on, and it keeps you motivated. Most importantly, the whole exercise is to keep yourself motivated to keep learning more, deliberating more, make mistakes, learn, and just equip yourself more better every time. So that's the whole mandate.
Since you mentioned Section 3K, I've been working on this since the early 2000s. Okay, I'm myself an inventor. We had filed one of the first software patents, and we ultimately got one of the first software patents granted in India.
Oh wow!
And one of the first software patents granted by the USPTO to an Indian company. Okay,
oh,
this
fantastic!
Was in the early 2000s. And
great.
when the Indian Patent Office had rejected our patent application on the grounds that software is not patentable in India, and all those things, that those were constantly getting updated from the late 90s to the early 2000s, going up almost to 2005. They were updating it, right? So we had filed a case against the patent office in the Bombay High Court there. And at that time, even though the hearings were mainly adjournments, etc., it didn't go anywhere. And ultimately, the IPAB was set up, the case was transferred there, but they were not functioning for a year, 2 years or something. And that thing, petered out. We lost track of that particular case. But in the meanwhile, we had prepared detailed, write-ups, and arguments, and submitted it to the court and to the patent office examiner. Regarding this whole issue of 3K. And when I
Sure.
look at the issues being deliberated today, I see the same things are being deliberated. If somebody
Exactly.
goes and looks at what I had drafted and filed at that time, those are still valid.
Absolutely.
But they can't seem to
Absolutely.
make up their mind on this, right?
Correct.
That's
Correct. Correct.
basically the issue which is still going on. Nonetheless, it's a very, very interesting topic, something always to learn in this area.
Yeah, the major fulcrum of the whole issue revolves around the technical effect aspect, and
Yes.
so I'm sure the sooner or later Indian IP office has to validate it, and we'll see more
In fact, they had
copyrights.
sort of validated this in the early 2000s when our second patent came up, no? Based on
Yeah,
these arguments, and I'd like to believe the submissions that we made in court and to the patent examiner, they actually
sure,
allowed my second software patent. And if you
sure.
read those arguments, it's about what is this technical effect? How do you see it? What are the characteristics? One to very systematically have explained it there,
Okay.
and if they had given that, then they keep on going back and forth, completely
Exactly.
confused about the whole issue, bringing
Exactly.
unrelated factors and arguments into it. That is what is
Sure.
confusing. Very simply put, as per TRIPS requirement, you cannot exclude any area of technology, right?
Exactly.
If it's the
Exactly.
technological software invention, it has to be patented. If it's a business method software process, okay, I understand, section 3K would apply and you may not.
Yeah.
But even
Yeah.
for technological software inventions, if you deny a patent, then it's problematic. And one of the excuses these days they use is, you have mentioned something like costing or, payments or, some message. So that is just you mentioned. That's not the crux of the invention in that patent
Correct.
application, right?
Correct.
But they
Correct.
latch on to even one incorrect or sort of the red flag words, and on that ground reject it. They are unwilling to reconsider that, look at the invention as a whole and the fact that it's a technological invention rather than anything else.
Correct. Correct.
This is the
They're
problem
stuck
that's
on with
going
the
on.
conventional approach more or less,
Yeah.
even now.
And in
So
fact, when section 3K, the law had been amended in India. Okay. But
yeah,
effectively what they were saying is law might have been amended, but I don't know about it. Patent office examiners don't know about it. Right? The law of the patent law is amended, but the patent examiners don't know about it.
are
And
not
nobody is
privy
willing
to
to
it.
be, brave enough, courageous enough to give an order
Exactly.
which is contrary to what has happened last 10, 20 years.
Exactly.
Nobody
Exactly.
wants to be the first here.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
That's the
So
thing.
correct, sir. So one small pertinent aspect, I mean, and there's an endless deliberation that can go on it.
Yeah.
So that's the whole idea, sir. So as and when that's how I do it. I mean, if I read through an article, I try and delve to right through the roots of it, and that is when it gets interesting. And once the interest is evoked, it's not really a difficult task to. I mean, you really don't have to memorize it or gobble it up. It statically it is completely imbibed in itself automatically, and
Correct.
then you can build on it progressively in the future
Yes.
readings and your discussions and so on and so forth. So
how I would put it is this IPR and patents and inventions, these are not some technical thing out there, some work that we do. As I see it, it is very much connected to our lives, to my life and the work that
absolutely,
we do in any
absolutely,
industry. Okay.
absolutely.
You would be innovating whichever industry you work in, and these are like critically important issues from a technological standpoint, from a legal standpoint, and most importantly, from a business standpoint.
Yep.
IPR is at the intersection of technology, law, and business, and not
Absolutely.
necessarily in that order.
And it's only getting robust by the day. I mean, in the
Yeah,
next
it
10
is
years.
becoming more and more important.
Absolutely.
Brick and
Absolutely.
mortar, going down. This is what is going to be more important in the
Absolutely.
future.
I mean, forget about patents. Trademarks in itself is a huge revenue generator, and its
Vast area.
implications on the company's top line is massive. I was reading a case judgment on McDonald's having lost to a Scottish food chain on their Big Mac trademark, and they're going after small and medium enterprises in Australia, in Scotland, I mean, so that just goes on to show what is the ramification of a particular trademark for one particular class, and a judgment in an SME favor. It completely gives a thrust to the whole SME industry in food processing and food products. So that's if those are the connotations. If you try and understand well, it becomes extremely interesting, and the results show in your business consulting deliverables also. So
actually,
I think
keep telling people this regarding trademarks. Okay, don't be fooled by the fact that, relatively speaking, filing the trademark application, the processing forms, the fees are less, and it looks simple. Don't be fooled by that.
Sure.
The actual issues, when they really come up, can be very, very complex, and the values involved, the what is at stake can be massive on a huge scale. You can't even imagine sometimes, how big this is. So don't be fooled by the simpler process of trademarking and the lesser cost compared to a patent.
Absolutely. I mean, EU IPO, for instance, I see the Board of Appeals always trying and objecting any non-conventional trademark registrability at all times. It is only every time the ECJ has to kick in and give a pragmatic connotation of what is an arbitrary word, or what is a common trademark or a common 3D mark, and how can have to shed the inhibition and grant the trademark. Simple as that. So those are the kind of issues that's how I keep myself updated and keep reading more and more. So on that note, I think, sir, we if we can maintain this habit, I think we'll all, as a business consulting team, we can all continue doing well.
Yes. Thank you very much, Saurabh. Excellent.
Thank you, Parvez. Thank you, everybody. And
thanks,
time permitting, and if everybody wants, we can have such discussions probably once in a quarter at least, and we can collate all our queries together and have a deliberation for an hour once a quarter, and I think that will be helpful.
Right.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks, Bhumika, for having this organized, and Arindam as well. And see you, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, Saurabh.